Welcome to week 2. So hopefully the first week went smoothly. I want to give you a little bit of an intro headed into the second week so that we can make sure that we stay on the right track this week. I loved looking at the pic collages last week. It's a really great way, I think, for you all to start to form some connection since it's an online class and chances are that you don't all know each other. At least now you know a little something about each other. So let me go ahead and share my screen and then we will walk through some of what's in this module. All right, so this is what your module 2 screen looks like. Some of you probably have already viewed this. My idea was to keep 2 modules open at a time so that you can work ahead if you know that your schedule is going to be tight because of things you have going on. But for those of you who are just in live time, here's what we've got going on this week. I went ahead and split this up into if you're teaching this week, meaning if you are creating content related to the chapters, and then if you're not teaching. The way that you know if you're teaching, there's 2 different ways. Number 1, you can look at the syllabus. It has a list of who's teaching what. And then the second way you can look is by going on over here to Peer Teaching, clicking on that tab, and you will see here's the list of the chapters. Grace, Bob, Mika, Garrett, Austin, and Beth are teaching this week, different chapters, and I'm going to walk you back to what those videos should look like here in a minute. So, tasks. If you are teaching, you're going to create your video presentation over the chapter. It should be between 5 and 10 minutes, and you're going to upload it to the Peer Teaching tab that's on Discussion Board. So if you click on Discussion Board, mine's going to look a little different than yours because some of these aren't open and available to you guys yet, but if you scroll down toward the bottom, you will see module 2 teaching videos, and this is where you're going to upload your YouTube link or your video. All right, and that needs to be done by Thursday because that will give the other students in the class a chance to watch those videos before they potentially need to take the quiz. So next thing you're going to do is your discussion board. STEM needs to be posted by Thursday, 2 peer responses by Sunday, same rubric. Well, not really the same rubric as last week, maybe for discussion board post number 2. So the word count does matter, and you should also try to substantiate your comments based on the chapters that we are covering or the artifact that I give you to draw from. You've got a quiz that's over the chapters. Usually it's like a question or 2-ish for each one of the chapters that we're covering. So it's not super in-depth, but just a way to keep you accountable for watching each other's videos. And then the last thing is the assessment plan, and I'll walk you through that here in a second, right? If you're not teaching, you're basically doing all of the same types of stuff, except you don't have to upload a teaching video. Okay. Now, if you want to work ahead, one of the things you can do is go ahead and be working through your chapter and creating your teaching video ahead of time so that it's one less thing you have to do on the weeks that you are actually quote unquote teaching. So here are the guidelines in the rubric for how you're being graded for the peer teaching. So the video should be clear, articulate, address all facets of the STEM. So like all the content, you know, from a big idea picture. Obviously in 5 to 10 minutes, you cannot cover absolutely everything that is in a chapter. Mostly, you know, when I teach, if I'm teaching a chapter in one class, that's 50 minutes or so. So you're just hitting the high points. I'll leave it to you to decide what you think the high points actually are. There should be a little intro. So with your objectives for what you want to cover, and then a summary at the end, just briefly. You could do a check for understanding if you want. It doesn't have to be part of your summary, but just kind of the big idea points. There needs to be more than one creative element. So you just talking on a video, kind of like what I'm doing, that would not count as a second creative element. So make sure you have some, I don't know, if you want to upload some images, if you want to use some graphics, that will count as your second creative element. It will help you get the points for that. Final length between 5 and 10 minutes. If it's less, you don't get the full points. If it's more, you don't get the full points. Try to stay in that range. And 5 minutes is a pretty big range. So, you know, with video editing and things like that, you should be able to get within that time constraint. And then loading it in the designated time frame is important. So by Thursday night at the latest, because that gives your peers a chance on Friday and Saturday to watch those videos before they take the quiz. Certainly you can go ahead and take the quiz before you've watched the videos. And if you want to just read the chapters and not rely on the videos, that's totally fine. Here's your link for quiz 2. And then we have the link for the assessment plan. If we click on this, I gave you a template for this. So there's 2 different ways to kind of look at things related to this. And I went ahead and put a little disclaimer at the top. You know, if you're a teacher already and you're working in a district where you have a defined grading plan or strategy, that's something that you have to use, that's fine. This is more from a hypothetical or theoretical standpoint. For those of you who are going to be teaching, I want you to start thinking through some of these kinds of things. Sometimes these ideas come up in job interviews, so this will be a good practice run. So we are going to talk about how we're assigning weight to the various domains of learning. So I want you to go ahead and list out your anticipated content area and grade level. So it could be social studies, middle school, or PE, high school, whatever that you think it's going to be, just go ahead and take a guess. And if you don't know for sure, just pick the one that you think you would most like to teach. For your chosen area of teaching, would you include assessments for all 3 domains? So psychomotor, they actually like doing, we use that a lot in physical education, cognitive and affective, and then tell me why or why not. Will each of these carry the same weight in the evaluation process? Meaning, would you give like 33% of a grade to the psychomotor, 33% to cognitive, 33% to affective? If you're not using those breakdowns, tell me what criteria you're using to frame your decision and how you determine what weight or points you would give to each one of those domains. Are you grading students for participation, effort, and or attitude and behavior? A lot of times that falls into the affective domain. If not, give me your rationale. If you are, then tell me how you think you are going to maintain objectivity when you're grading for what constitutes participation. Is it just showing up in class? Is it contributing to discussion? In physical education, a lot of times it might be dressing out. A lot of times it is very subjective and it is a hard thing to measure. So I want to hear your thoughts on how you think you can keep that objective if you're choosing to put that in as part of your grading criteria. What types of assessments will you use? In a traditional classroom, you're probably giving tests and quizzes, homework assignments, and those kinds of things. You may be doing portfolios or journals, depends on the grade level for sure. But I want to hear about, at least give me a couple of different kinds of assessments that you think you would use and why you chose each of the types. And then the last part here, you're going to construct a pie chart based on your answers to number 1. So if I'm talking from a physical education standpoint and I say I'm going to give equal weight to all 3 domains of learning, my pie chart would be divided into 3 main areas. And then within the main areas, you might say for psychomotor, I might do fitness testing, and I might also do skills testing, and maybe I'm doing half to each. So of that 33, I split that in half, and I have, let's say, 16 and 17% respectively for those parts. So at the end, all of the parts of your pie chart should add up to 100%. And you should be able to just go ahead and create that and then insert that image right here into this Word document. So that is the assessment plan. If you have questions about that, for sure, go ahead and ask me. All right, let's go back to our module. And then you can see here, here's our module 3 discussion board. So after looking at the information in chapter 9, would you agree or disagree with this statement? And the statement is, an ideal performance test is a good teaching activity. Provide a specific example from your content area to help support your answer. So tell me if you agree or disagree, the why or why not, and then give me an example of how this would play out in your content area. When we talk about discussion board, you need to make sure that your main stem is at least 200 words, and then your 2 peer responses should be 100 words each. They need to be uploaded within the correct time frame. So main stem by Thursday, and then the 2 peer responses by Saturday. hopefully that'll give you a good idea of what we have going on this week. When we start looking at the syllabus and things like that, all of this fits together. I promise you it will make sense when it's all said and done. For those of you who are already teaching, hang in there. There is plenty that is applicable to what you are doing in terms of assessment. And I know that for beginning teachers, the assessment piece can be really difficult because most of the time you're just kind of trying to keep your head above water with getting your plans done and the teaching done the way that you want to. And a lot of times assessment tends to be more informal, but you may be in a position where you need some data or you're asked to provide reports as part of your professional development and or part of what your principal might be collecting. So this stuff will matter, I promise you. Hope you have had a good week, and I'm looking forward to another great week in this class.